This is the INCRA Precision 300mm T-Rule. Very, very accurate bit of kit for any of our marking out work. In the box of the 300mm T-Rule is the 300mm ruler, a pair of fixing nuts and bolts, a T-bar that it sits onto to make it into a square, and also the INCRA 0.5mm pencil. The 0.5mm nib is very accurate to go into the little tiny slots and holes that are on the ruler. To attach the rule to the T-bar, just use the fixing nuts. You'll notice on the red T-bar there's a little rebate here. Make sure that as you slide this up and down, you're up against that stop and you're tightened down. This will then set the rule exactly at the 0 position and hold it nice and square. The INCRA Precision rules are all made in the USA out of a stainless steel with a special non-glare finish. The rule is quite thin because it's pierced actually with a laser, very, very accurate for making the holes that go through the rule. Up on the very top, we have a dot at every millimetre spacing, and the same down the bottom. We also then have a longer line, which is at every millimetre, and above that, a line at every ½ millimetre. So we can either do dot marks, top and bottom, longer lines at a millimetre or longer lines at a ½ millimetre spacing. As we come up to the very small dots here, we could either go dead on 40 millimetres or come down one at 40 1/4, 40 1/2 or 40 3/4 before we come back to the top to start again at 41 millimetres. So we can mark within 1/4 of a millimetre. Some of the rules come with a INCRA pencil. So it's a mechanical pencil with a 0.5mm lead, and we can use that to go in to produce our marks. So using the INCRA rule, we can get fantastic precision. If we want to mark a parallel line, pull him along. We can do a much wider parallel line. Just drop it in the size you want, put it along. If you want to, then you can use it as a square to line those lines up. We can either just do a dot mark for a particular position we're looking for, or we can do a slightly longer line depending what you're looking for out of the rule. Also, what we can do is do a dot at every ½ millimetre, so we can get some very, very precise marking out. If we're marking out the tails for a dovetail joint, I normally do lines across here to actually give me my starting point before I start marking out my angles. We could do this with a ruler and a pencil and just do it by pure measurements. But if we get a mistake with the first one, that can transfer to the second, and that measurement inaccuracy can compound on. The idea of the INCRA rule is it's incremental. So if I get him up against the end of my timber and I've worked out where my measurements need to go, I can just drop my pencil in to my first measurement, drop him into my second, drop him into my third, and come all the way across, marking out my numbers. And then we're going to have very, very accurate, we're going to square those across for our dovetails. If I move the rule so he's level with the bottom of the T-bar and flip him up on edge, we can then use the end of this rule for actually setting up the height of a router cutter or a table saw blade or anything else we're trying to set up for an accurate height. So I can also use the INCRA rule for marking out a mortise. The precision rule, just undo the bolts and take him off the T-bar. We can now use it to actually form any circles or arcs. If we put this in the 0 position, we could mark out a diameter or an arc at any precision size you're looking for, or a whole series of different arcs. If you needed to mark out inside a curved component, the INCRA rule can be used right inside here for marking any particular sizes you are looking for. We could also use them around the outside of a cylinder if we were trying to make constant marks at a particular position for setting up fluting or similar. Our INCRA Precision T-Rules are available in 3 metric sizes: the 300, the 150 and the tiny T being the 75mm. All of them have exactly the same features, it's just the length that changes. If you're looking for real precision in your woodworking, get the INCRA Precision T 300mm ruler from woodworkersworkshop.co.uk. Check us out on our social media channels and YouTube for more of our content.